Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into some Baltimore City Board of Estimates meeting minutes from February 2010 today.
Ooh, exciting stuff. City Hall minutia.
Well, yeah, budgets and contracts, all that fun stuff. But there's actually some really interesting stuff in here.
Oh, like what?
Well, we're going to be focusing on this company called Eager Street Development 28, LLC. They're trying to, well, looks like they're trying to get their hands on some property from the city.
Interesting. So we're talking about a land deal.
Yeah, exactly. A land disposition agreement, to use the official
Yeah.
term.
Okay. And what kind of property are we talking about here?
So the agreement is with the city's Department of Housing and Community Development. And it's for a whole bunch of single-family homes, like 28 of them.
28 homes. Wow. That's quite a portfolio they're trying to assemble. Where are these homes located?
They're all over the place, actually. Eager Street, Milton Avenue, Montford, Port, even Ashland Avenue gets a mention.
So spread out across a few different neighborhoods then.
Yeah, looks like it. And the houses themselves are all different sizes, too. Some are pretty small, like around 800 square feet.
Uh-huh.
But some are much bigger, over 1,300 square feet.
Okay. So a real mix of properties. Now, what's the city asking for these homes? I imagine 28 homes in Baltimore can't be cheap.
You'd think so, right. But get this. The city's selling each property for $1,000.
Wait, $1,000? For a whole house?
$1,000. It says so right here in the minutes.
That's almost unbelievable. These homes must be in pretty rough shape.
Well, they were appraised at over $11,000 each back in 2009.
So the city's practically giving them away? There has to be a catch.
I think the catch is that these houses probably need a ton of work.
Yeah.
And the city's hoping Eager Street Development will come in, fix them up, and will, boost the neighborhood a bit.
Ah, so it's all part of a revitalization effort.
Yeah, exactly. The minutes talk about stabilizing the neighborhood, reducing blight, creating more affordable housing, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. The city uses a really low sale price to incentivize the developer to take on these potentially risky projects.
Right. And it's a big risk because these houses sound like they've been vacant for ages. They might even need a complete overhaul.
Yeah, rehabilitating 28 homes is no small feat, especially if they're in really bad condition. And then there's the cost.
Exactly. The minutes mention Eager Street Development is planning to spend something like $145,000 per unit on rehab.
Wow. So we're talking millions of dollars for the whole project. How are they planning to finance all of this?
Well, that's where things get interesting. They've applied for funding from a bunch of different places. The Federal Home Loan Bank,
Okay.
the Community Legacy Program, even a Maryland State Capital Grant.
That's a lot of different funding sources. So they're really casting a wide net, huh?
Yeah, they are. Oh, and they also got a commitment from Johns Hopkins, their Live Near Your Work program or something like that.
Interesting. That's a program that helps employees buy homes near their jobs, right?
Right. So that's another potential source of funding for the project.
So it sounds like they have a lot of potential avenues for financing this project.
They do. But there's a catch. And this is what really jumped out at me. As of this meeting, they only have approval for one of those funding requests. Just one.
Oh. So the future of this whole project is still very much up in the air.
It is. It makes you wonder if Eager Street Development can really pull this off. What if they can't get the rest of the funding? What happens to those 28 houses then?
And what happens to the city's plans for revitalizing those neighborhoods?
Exactly. It's a pretty big gamble. Unfortunately, these minutes don't tell us what happened next. We just get this one snapshot in time.
So we're left with a lot of unanswered questions. But that's part of what makes this so fascinating.
It is. It's like we've stumbled upon a mystery. What happened to Eager Street Development? Did they get the money? Did they fix up those houses? I guess we'll have to keep digging to find out.
And maybe, just maybe, these minutes hold some more clues.
So we've got this developer, Eager Street Development. They're trying to snag 28 houses from the city for a song.
Yeah, $1,000 a pop.
But it sounds like they're going to need a whole lot more than that to actually, make this project work.
Oh yeah, definitely. Rehab costs alone are going to be huge.
And they're counting on all these different funding sources.
Right, the Federal Home Loan Bank, the Community Legacy Program, that state grant.
And even Johns Hopkins. It's a lot to keep track of.
Well, let's break it down a bit. Maybe that will help.
Okay, sounds good. Where do we even start?
Well, how about that Federal Home Loan Bank money? It's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So they don't actually give the money directly to developers.
Really?
Yeah, they work through local banks and lenders.
Oh, I see. So Eager Street Development would have to partner with a bank.
Exactly. And that bank would then apply to the Federal Home Loan Bank for the funds.
Ah, so it's like a chain reaction.
pretty much. And of course, each of these funding sources, well, they have their own rules and requirements and stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Like the Community Legacy Program, for example.
What about it?
It's specifically for projects that help revitalize communities.
Right, like reducing blight, creating affordable housing,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So on paper, at least, it seems like Eager Street Development's project would be a good fit, right?
Yeah, it would. I mean, the city's definitely hoping they'll create more affordable housing.
But here's the thing. These programs are super competitive.
Oh, I'm sure.
Tons of applications, not a lot of money to go around.
So Eager Street Development would have had to really wow them with their proposal.
Definitely. They would have to make a very compelling case.
Makes sense. So what about that state grant, the Maryland State Capital Grant? Is that kind of the same deal?
It's similar, but not exactly the same. The state grant, it's more focused on the actual construction and renovation.
Oh, like the hard costs.
Yeah, things like roofing, plumbing, electrical work, that kind of stuff.
So that money would probably go towards those, what did we say, like $145,000 per unit rehab costs?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So we've got the feds, the state, and then there's Johns Hopkins too.
Right. And they're doing things a little differently.
Yeah, their program, the Live Near Your Work thing, it's for individual home buyers, not the developer.
Exactly. It's meant to encourage people who work at Hopkins to live closer to their jobs.
It's a pretty common thing now, these Live Near Your Work programs. We've seen them in other cities too.
They can be a good thing for a neighborhood. Less traffic, more people spending money locally.
Right, right. So in this case, Hopkins is offering these low-interest loans to people who want to buy those rehabbed homes.
And that could be a big selling point, you know?
Oh, yeah. It could definitely help Eager Street Development sell those houses. But let's not forget, as of this meeting, they only have one of those funding sources locked down.
Yeah, 1 out of 4.
And they're talking about spending millions of dollars.
It's a risky move, that's for sure. Starting a project that big without knowing for sure if you'll have the money to finish it.
It makes you wonder what their plan B was. Like, what if they couldn't get all the funding they needed?
Maybe they scale back the project. Or try to get more loans. Who knows?
Unfortunately, these minutes don't tell us. They just give us this little glimpse into what was happening back then.
It's like a puzzle with some pieces missing.
It is. It's frustrating, but also kind of intriguing. Like, what happened to Eager Street Development? Did they succeed? Did they fail? I want to know.
Me too.
I guess that's the problem with history, right? It's already happened.
Well, it's not a problem. It's part of what makes it so fascinating.
True, true. But in this case, I'd love to know the ending to the story.
Yeah, me too. Maybe we'll find some more clues as we keep digging through these minutes.
This is Eager Street Development, right? They're trying to get these 28 houses fixed up.
Yeah, quite the
It
project.
really shows how, like, the city works with developers, you know?
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And these minutes, they show us a lot more than just that one deal.
Oh, yeah. They're packed with all sorts of stuff about what was going on in Baltimore back then.
It's like you get to peek behind the curtain and see how the city actually runs.
Decisions being made, budgets, all that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And we've seen some interesting stuff already, like how they were trying to figure out that budget shortfall.
Tough choices.
Yeah. And then the Commission on Aging, remember?
Uh-huh. Trying to decide whether to buy new furniture or pay those extra fees.
It's all connected, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everything's a trade-off. But then there's some things in here that really make you go, what's going on here?
Like what?
Well, there's this whole thing about stadium.
Oh, yeah, the stadium talk. I remember that. Always a big deal.
Right. So the Baltimore Development Corporation, the BDC,
Yeah.
they were talking to the Maryland Stadium Authority.
Okay. About what?
Feasibility studies for not one but 2 stadiums.
Wait, 2? Wow. What kind of stadiums?
One was for a Major League Soccer team, the DC United.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Supposed to be in Westport. And then the other one, a minor league stadium for the Crystal Palace soccer team.
Over in Carroll Camden.
That's the idea.
2 stadiums. That's a pretty bold move.
It is. And of course, stadium projects, they always come with baggage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Costs, displacement, the whole debate about whether they actually help the city.
Right. All valid concerns. But to be fair to them, it sounds like they were trying to do their due diligence.
How so?
Well, they wanted to do these feasibility studies, right? Get all the facts and figures before making any decisions.
Makes sense. Don't just jump into it blindly.
Exactly.
Okay, so stadiums, anything else that stood out to you?
Well, there was this thing with the Department of Transportation.
Oh, yeah. What about them?
They had this agreement with the Baltimore Harbor Waterkeeper.
What was that all about?
Trying to improve the inner harbor, I think. clean it up, make it nicer.
Sounds like a good idea. What happened?
They hit a snag. Permits, I think.
Permits.
Hmm.
Always a headache.
The DOT couldn't spend the money they had set aside, so the project just stalled.
Bummer. So what happened then?
Well, the waterkeeper, they asked for their money back.
That's fair. If the project's not going anywhere.
Right. And the city agreed to give them a refund.
Well, at least they did the right thing there.
It's important, that kind of accountability.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we've learned a lot today.
We have budgets, developers, stadiums, the inner harbor.
And that's just scratching the surface, I bet.
Oh, yeah. These minutes are just a tiny window into a much bigger story.
But it's been fascinating to see how it all fits together.
Definitely.
And, we might not know what happened to Eager Street Development and those 28 houses.
Maybe they got the money. Maybe they didn't.
Maybe they fixed them up. Maybe they're still sitting there vacant.
We just don't know.
But hey, that's part of the fun, right?
It is.
Keeps us guessing.
Oh.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure diving into this stuff with you.
Likewise. Always fun to get lost in these City Hall documents.
Absolutely. And thanks to everyone out there for listening. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.